A very good evening and welcome to this Monday night's edition of Primetime News. I'm Salima Shimwefeleni Masipa. Leading our newscast tonight, President Nangolo Mbumba urged Namibians to promote their cultures to foster greater understanding and unity, thereby building a stronger and more resilient nation rooted in the spirit of nationhood and patriotism. He made these remarks on Saturday at the 14th annual Omarongo Cultural Festival hosted by the Ondonga Traditional Authority. Primetime News producer Lydia Pitiri brings us these visuals from the festival.
It is therefore important that we gather on occasion during times of peace like this to socialize and celebrate our cultures. Our cultures together, not one type of culture, all our cultures together. The Omarongo Festival is one of the annually anticipated events which allow us as Namibians and as Africans at large to showcase and celebrate our unique heritage. Cultural festival offer us a platform that enable us to gather around the celebration of our shared history, our shared traditions, and our shared practices. As Namibians, we should ensure that the celebration of our respective cultures and traditions should lead to fostering a greater understanding and unity among our people. A nation whose citizens celebrate and enjoy together their diverse traditions in peacetime can also withstand pressure together in times of difficulties and adversities.
Meanwhile, Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah urged Africans to lift the continent out of poverty and ensure that its resources are used for the benefit of its people. Nandi-Ndaitwah made these remarks at the Omarongo Festival at the Onambango Palace on Saturday in the Oshana region. Once again, Lydia Pitiri brings us this report.
Allow me really to say to all Namibians and to all Africans that in a day like this one is the day in which we have to commit ourselves to make sure that the sleeping Africa must wake up so that we can take Africa out of poverty and make sure that African resources are used for the people of Africa.
President Nangolo Mbumba says Africa Day, celebrated annually on the 25th May, holds immense significance in the collective history of the continent. It is a day when we come together to celebrate our diverse cultures, acknowledge our achievements, and reaffirm our commitment to addressing the pressing issues facing our continent. Mbumba said in a message to commemorate the 61st Africa Day anniversary. Konjeni Ambinga brings us more details.
President Nangolo Mbumba said Africa Day is a day when Africans come together to celebrate our diverse cultures, acknowledge our achievements, and reaffirm our commitment to addressing the pressing issues facing the African continent. The day serves as a reminder of the founding of the Organization of African Unity, OAU. It was held under the theme Educating African Fit for the 21st Century, Building Resilient Education Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Lifelong, Quality, and Relevant Learning in Africa. Mbumba stressed the significance of education in Africa cannot be overstated, as it is the cornerstone upon which to build empowered societies, unlock individual potential, and foster innovation and creativity. He further added, despite progress that has been made, significant challenges remain with millions of African children today still lacking access to quality education, depriving them of the chance to fulfill their aspirations and meaningfully contribute to society. He further said that Namibia, like many African countries, is working towards building a resilient education system that offers inclusive lifelong learning opportunities for all citizens. Mbumba further emphasized that in this regard, progress has been made in expanding education access, particularly for marginalized groups, reducing dropout rates and enhancing literacy and numeracy outcomes. Mbumba further noted that despite challenges and disparities, the focus remains on developing quality education programs to equip learners with essential skills for success in the 21st century. Konjeni Yambinga reporting for Primetime News.
Now, with a day left before South Africans head to the polls to decide on their leadership for the next 5 years, South Africa's opposition parties mounted an 11th hour assault Sunday on the ruling ANC's 30-year-old grip on power, staging large-scale rallies 3 days before what promises to be a historic general election. More from this insert.
From the right, the Democratic Alliance Party was gathering in the town of Benoni outside Johannesburg to cheer on leader John Steenhuisen under a pair of national flags. Ahead of Wednesday's vote, the party picked a smaller 20,000-seat stadium compared to the venue the African National Congress chose for its Johannesburg rally the day before. But blue-clad supporters amply filled the venue. John Steenhuisen told the crowds on Wednesday the ANC will lose the outright majority it has abused for decades, adding that on Wednesday the DA will close the ANC chapter of history. Opinion polls suggest the DA will not overtake the ANC to become South Africa's biggest single party, but it hopes it will unite with a coalition of smaller outfits to take power. From the left, former President Jacob Zuma, not legally a candidate because of a conviction. For contempt of court, is marshalling his Umkhonto weSizwe MK party for a final push. Zuma, who served as the ANC's fourth president between 2009 and 2018, but left the office dodged by graft allegations, cannot stand for elections, but may still take votes from his former party. The opposition, represented by 51 parties, large and small on the ballot, and the DA leader would also face a post-election battle to assume a coalition of MPs to put him in power. The ANC sliding under 50% would put the party and South Africans in uncharted waters, but analysts and opinion polls agreed that this is the most likely outcome. The ANC won freedom for Black South Africans after decades of apartheid, helped build democracy, and lifted millions out of poverty by creating a social welfare system. About 27 million people are registered to vote on May 29. They will elect the 400 members of the National Assembly, which then chooses the president. Konjeni Yambinga reporting for Primetime News.
Stay tuned for your top roundup with the business segment thereafter. Welcome to the Primetime Biz segment, the slot dedicated to all things business and economics. In efforts to foster diplomatic reciprocity in international relations, Cabinet has granted permission to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security to enforce entry visa requirements for countries that have not offered equal treatment to Namibian nationals when they visit those countries. Andreas Thomas files this report.
According to Home Affairs Executive Director A.T.N. Maritz, this executive decision, which aimed at fostering fair and balanced diplomatic relations, will affect 31 countries. Affected countries include major European economies like Germany, the United Kingdom, Spain, Japan, Italy, Denmark, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, and Finland. Namibia has extended goodwill and favorable treatment to nationals of various countries. However, despite these efforts, certain nations have not reciprocated. Maritz, in a statement, said, "In light of this disparity, the government has deemed it necessary to implement a visa requirement to ensure parity and fairness in diplomatic interactions. The date of implementation and application will be communicated at a later stage through diplomatic channels." Sylvia Shandali reporting for Primetime News.
Moving on to news from the banking sector, Deputy Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Leonie Dunn, called on journalists to prioritize accuracy in economic reporting. Dunn emphasized the importance of accuracy in journalistic activities, particularly in the field of economic reporting, during a recent training for journalists on economic reporting in Windhoek. Shalva Wells brings us this report.
During a recent training for journalists on economic reporting in Windhoek, Dunn emphasized the critical juncture at which modern media finds itself, typified by an unparalleled influx of information. In such a landscape, she emphasized the importance of accurate reporting. She said, "Accurate reporting serves as the bedrock between the public and the media, forming the cornerstone upon which the credibility of institutions such as Bank of Namibia is built." Dunn highlighted the position of journalists as gatekeepers of information, saying they wield profound influence over public opinion, perception, and policymaking through their reporting. Sylvia Shandali reporting for Primetime News.
This is where the top segment concludes for tonight. We now consult the weather oracle on tomorrow's countrywide conditions, followed by a roundup of the latest economic news. Welcome to Sport Planet, the segment dedicated to all things sporting action. We commence with para-athletics. The 2024 World Para-Athletics Championships saw Namibia ranked 39th out of the over 100 countries that competed in the championships held in Kobe, Japan from 17 to 25 May 2024. The 11th edition of the Para-Athletics World Championships saw over 1,000 athletes compete in 168 medal events in Japan. Namibia finished higher than at last year's event when they ended in 43rd place with 3 silver medals. Their 39th place finish came with a gold medal and a bronze medal in the T11 400 meter male and female categories. On to football. The Brave Warriors were on Friday handed 3 points by the FIFA Disciplinary Committee after finding Equatorial Guinea guilty of using an ineligible player. On November 15, 2023, Namibia played their opening World Cup qualifier match against Equatorial Guinea, which Brave Warriors lost 1-0. Equatorial Guinea played their Spanish-born international player Emilio Lopez, the national team's all-time top scorer, who at the time was ineligible to represent his country. In a statement published on the FIFA website on Friday, its disciplinary committee sanctioned the Equatorial Guinea Football Association and the player Emilio Lopez on grounds of ineligibility. Namibia's victory will move them into second place in the standings level on 6 points with Tunisia, who currently top the 6-team group. Stay tuned for your sports roundup. This is where we dock for Monday. Another primetime news edition awaits you tomorrow, so do make a date with me for another exciting edition. A parting reminder to follow the on-screen prompts and subscribe to the Nampa TV platform to stay updated on developments shaping our world. Otherwise, from myself, Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa, and the production crew behind the scenes, it's good night.